Cort Dogniez, is our first speaker. He's a proud Métis man born and raised in Saskatoon. He's a graduate of ITEP and possesses a Bachelor of Education and Postgrad Diploma in Indigenous Studies. He's a retired teacher currently in the position of the Métis Education Program Leader based at St. Michael's Community School, but available to all Greater Saskatoon Catholic schools. Cort is a proud ITEP graduate. He's going to come up here and share his good heart and mind with you, the people. Put your hands together and please welcome kindly Cort.
Can you hear me? Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really actually quite surprised because when Chris asked me to do this a while ago, I thought I was going to be doing a session, and I thought it was going to be Friday afternoon, and there were going to be about 30 people here, and so I brought like about 20 posters, and I thought, oh, this will be fine, and I thought with only about 30 people hanging about, I would create this presentation, and it would be a little cheeky, and it would be a little fun. And now here I am standing in front of you, and there are a lot of you. And so I'm just shaking. I would have a water, but I know I would do this. So I'm not going to do that. So please bear with me and understand where my mind was at when I actually made this PowerPoint, because you can see that I've called it an inspirational Red Talk by Cort Dogniez. So kind of cheeky, and the rest of it's kind of cheeky too, but we're just going to have to go with that because that's actually who I am. So as I thought about inspirational quotes, and as I was seeing what people were posting, this one kind of resonated with me, and is kind of where my head is at. It says, when you know who you are, you walk with honor on this land, protected by your ancestors. And that resonates with me. And I'm hoping that as I go through this, you'll see why that resonates with me. And so here's a part of the cheekiness is I thought I'll put my baby picture in here. And you'll see that when we talk about inspiration, the person who inspired me the most was my kokum. My kokum raised me, and as a teenager I lived with her, and so I got her stories and her perspectives. I got her history, but more importantly, I got unconditional love. And so that set me up for life. And I put there, all we need is love, because if we know that there's somebody out there that loves us and cares for us, you know, we're kind of good to go. And so I need to honor my kokum as that person who grounded me. There's my high school picture. So my kokum used to always say, I believe in you. And even when I was kind of down and out, and I really was, when it came to high school, because I looked pretty happy there. But because of the things that were going on in my home, the struggles that I was having, I was probably doing exactly as my mom was doing in terms of medicating myself and trying to just make things a little better for myself. And so I was more interested in partying and drinking and stuff like that. And so by the time I was in grade 12, I was failing. I was failing kind of badly, and yet my kokum was always there, telling me that she believed in me. And she believed in me even when I didn't. And I carry that with me because I think about my students. I think about those people in my community who just need somebody to believe in them and to help them understand that they have potential. Because that fear holds us back so much. It held me back for so long. And so we need people who will stand up for us and speak for us. So that's why I put that in there. I put this in. This is my ITEP grad picture from 1978. And I even put an arrow so that you could see where I was. But I call this picture, Oh, What the Hell, because when my auntie, Laura DeLorme, said to me, Cort, you can go to university, I kind of laughed and said, I can't go to university. And she said, you could. And so she took me to the university. And at that time, Cecil King was the director of the ITEP program. And he was actually, yeah, give him a hand. I've told this story many times. I went in and Cecil was actually packing up. He was going to Calgary to work on his master's, and he was leaving. And so I went to him and I said, I would really like to be a teacher. I would really like to come to this program. And he looked at my transcripts, and he said, I don't think that's going to happen, because you don't have a high enough average to get in under regular admission, and even if you waited for adult admission, you still don't have the grades. So I don't think I can accept you. And I kind of begged and pleaded and gave him my best puppy look eyes. And Cecil finally said, oh, what the hell? And he, and he signed the paper, and he said, you're in, but I'm telling you, they'll catch up to you. They'll catch up to you, and you better be doing well. You better live up to what you're saying that you can do. And so I did. So by the time they caught up to me, somewhere mid-October, early November, my average was pretty high. And so it was pretty difficult to kick me out when I was doing so well. And so they kind of left me. And so just like Cecil, I needed somebody just to give me a chance, you know? And then I would do the rest. And that's kind of what I did. So I'm really proud to be an ITEP grad. At that time, there was no SUNTEP. And so ITEP took in one token Métis. You're looking at him. So I kind of moved on, and that was kind of a good thing. I thought, this is where I get really cheeky again. I thought, know your audience, Cort. But I still put, you are not an Indian. And I put that there because as I was going through ITEP, I would come home and I would tell my kokum all the stuff I knew, all the stuff I was learning. And as I was doing that, she would say to me, you are not an Indian. And I would say, I know, but this is all cool stuff, and it's still part of my heritage and a part of who I am. No, yes, but no, you are not an Indian. You are a Métis person. We have our own culture. We have our own language. We have our own identity. And she put that into me and reminded me of that. And that was important for me to be grounded. And so I put this up there because this comes from the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, who reminds us that these are all the things that we need to have on side to help us to be successful. And that's a message that I've heard throughout this conference. As people talk about what we need to be successful, there it is, right there. So that's important. We need our community to ground us. I needed my kokum to ground me because there was a lot of time when I was going through a lot of stress, and I needed that to uphold me. As people challenged me, as people accused me, you know, I had my grandma to fall back on. And even to this day, when people say things to me and say, oh, Métis people aren't like that, I say, shut up. I know what Métis people are like. So you don't need to tell me how we are. The idea of cultural responsiveness. When I went up to Fairbanks, Alaska, we heard about these cultural standards that were happening there. And again, the same message resonating through is that culture is the through. It is not something that is separate. It's not an add-on. We use our culture to get to where we want to go in terms of learning. And that is a powerful statement for myself. And I've been trying to carry that as I move along, thinking about how is it that I can use culture to achieve what it is that we want in our schools? How will we achieve our curricular goals? It is through culture. So in order to do that, we need to know our story and our history. That's important. And so we need to be able to pass that on in a positive way to our students. So I stuck in another inspirational quote, because as I was working with another school division, Albert Scott, who is from the Kinistin First Nation, said this to me: this work is like dropping a stone in the water, and we're creating ripples, and eventually all people will find themselves in the circle. It is important that schools are welcoming, respectful, inclusive, and what did I say? Respectful, inclusive, welcoming, and caring. They need to be all those things, but not just for people like us. I have to tell that to teachers all the time. It isn't about just people like you. It's got to be everybody. And so in that regard, we need to honor our diversity. But we have to recognize our hole in the boat too. We recognize that our First Nations and Métis students have some struggles, that they're not attaining those graduation rates, those attendance rates. And so we've got to look for what's missing. And for me, I believe it is this culture. It's that whole lens, that whole worldview that we've been hearing about over the last 3 days. That's what's missing. We want everybody to be in the circle, including us. And that's a powerful message. And so I think about the common message and the common themes that I heard Wednesday at the Métis pre-conference. And as I see things that are being posted, it's all of these things that are listed here that are powerful for us. You know, we need to know who we are. We need to be tied to our communities. We need to know our history, all of these things, in order for that sense of belonging to come. And the last thing I put on there was the whole idea of allies and advocates, because we can't do this work alone. We need people who are going to come alongside us and hold us up and champion us and help push Bush. That's what my brother always tells me I am. He says, you're a kind of a bush pusher, because I hate being up here. I hate being in a leadership position, but I will push Bush for you any day of the week to get us to go where we need to be. Allies and advocates. And so I want to talk about what's happening in our school division with Greater Saskatoon Catholic Schools, because in April, Central Urban Métis Federation Incorporated signed a partnership with Greater Saskatoon Catholic Schools to do exactly what we've been talking about, saying, let's give you a place where you can embed a Métis perspective, where you can honor those things and do it your own way. And then if you can get that rolling and it's a good thing, then we can share it with the rest of the school division, and we can do it in an inclusive, welcoming way. And so with this partnership in place, we started having dialogue, discussion, working with our community, because again, you can't do it for people. You cannot do it to people. You've got to do it with people. And that's what we tried to do, holding as many community meetings as we can, trying to get people on side from the Métis community and sort of saying, here's our dream. So here's our opportunity. At St. Michael Community School, we can start something. And you know, it's not going to be perfect. And it's going to be messy because we don't even have a plan, because it's going to be kind of an organic thing that's going to come together. But it did come together. And so in September, we proudly flew that Métis flag for the first time, the first school in the whole city to flag a Métis flag permanently. That was awesome. Yeah, so they hired me to be the Métis Education Program Leader to come alongside the teachers and try to do, in a respectful manner, a way of bringing together the curriculum and Métis perspectives. And so that's what we've been doing from day one. I just came alongside people, and you can imagine when suddenly the focus of the school changes and it's not your culture, how challenging that can be. We all have our fears of not doing it well. We don't want to do things superficially. People are concerned that they're going to offend people. I hear that all the time. And so we needed to do this in an environment that was respectful, and that where we could build. Hello. Where we could build relationship. And that to me is really, really important. I'm just going to hold this because I'm almost done, right? Oh, no? Okay, good. Okay. So anyways, so I'm working with them in terms of making those cultural connections. We have a Métis Cultural Resource Center. And so we've just purchased tons and tons of materials. And to make it meaningful, what I did was I brought my Kokum's furniture. And I set it up in my classroom. And I had her cupboard, and I had her chairs, and I had her Afghans, and all those kinds of things. And I wanted it so that when people came across the threshold, they knew right away we were doing something different. That it was about giving people that sense of, As Métis people, I see them coming into our building and just relaxing. They come in and say, hey, this is like my Kokums, and she had this, and she had that, and I love that. You know, we want to validate the language. Even though my Kokum was a Cree speaker, she wasn't a Michif speaker, it's Michif that we want to honor. And so I'm challenged to try and pick up that language and validate it too. Nope, I clicked something else. And so after the first year of playing around working with the teachers and trying to build that relationship, we started thinking about what is it we're doing and where do we want to go and what could be the template. And so we used this Red River Cart graphic organizer. And we sort of said, what are our themes? What have we been doing and what guides us? And if you look at this, there are actually 10 themes that are up there. It starts with community on the outside of the wheel, and it ends with community on the outside of the wheel. So we start with community with the idea of who's going to come along on this journey with us, who's going to support us and help us in all those areas. And then when you're on the inside of the wheel, you can see that there are themes that deal with family. I don't know if there's an arrow here, but the very first blue one up there under community says, it looks like a wolf. That speaks to family. Beside it is role models and mentors. Again, the last white one is about celebrations. In January, we focus on the value of kindness. February, we focus on storytelling. In March, we focus on balance, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. In April, we focus on nature, and we have the bear there as our symbol. And in between April and May is where Lent comes in. And because many Métis people are Catholic, we want to validate that too. So May is the month of Mary. And that takes us to that first blue one. And then we go back out onto the outside of the circle. And we think about the community people that came with us on our journey and how we can give back in that spirit of generosity. My kokum always said, you need to give back. And something is never more important than someone. So we need to honor them and respect them. And so I take that teaching with me. On the outside of the wheel is also Dr. Martin Brokenleg's Circle of Courage. So we have belonging, mastery, independence, and generosity that help us shape the work we do. And then you can see that within the wheel is the medicine wheel to remind us again of who we are and what we are and where we came from. So all of this is kind of embedded there. And that's the poster I brought. So if you're interested in a poster, I'll have it at the back table, and you can have one. Or you can just go to St. Michael Community School in Saskatoon and go on our webpage, and you can actually download it with all the explanation that goes with it. So that's what we're trying to do, using community, using our teachers, using everybody. And it isn't me lifting the load, it's everybody. So it might have started where I was the catalyst, but on Wednesday I said it was kind of like me striking a match and throwing it in the tinder. And it just caught fire at our school. Our school is so positive. It's so caring, and everybody is just on side. Everybody is pulling in the right direction, and we love that. I put on here a bunch of slides just to show you kind of the things that we do on a monthly basis, but we make sure that everything that we do permeates with Métis culture. So if we have a community event, it's about Métis things. We have a Christmas concert, it's about Métis things. You know, we have a fiddle program that just started up. Natalie McMaster donated 25 fiddles to our school. Which started a fiddle program for us, which is powerful. And our kids were just performed on Wednesday here. And if you were here, you heard them. This is only their second year. And it's powerful how much that they have learned. We've had people like Wilfred Burton come in to do professional development. Our partners, right across the street is Sask Polytech. We go over there and we share with them too what it is that we're doing. One of the things that we try regularly to help us keep that sense of community is tea time with Musham. So we had that this morning where we buy coffee, we buy treats, and all the staff come down and get to spend time with Musham. For whatever reason, but it's about building relationship and trust. When Natalie McMaster came to town last year, she sent us 50 tickets to come to her concert. So we went there and we brought her and her family sashes, and they wore them on the stage after the break. And it was powerful. Our kids just went crazy when they saw that. I have a monthly newsletter if you're interested in seeing that. We have our dancing jigging group that's up. All sorts of things. And Musham said, how come we don't have a bingo? How come we don't have a bingo at this school? So last April, we had our first community literacy bingo. So all kind of good things. I know I'm going to run out of time here. So I want you to see where we want to go. It's important for us that we want to validate language. So obviously we want to move from a core Michif program to a bilingual program. And all these things, we want to build the cultural competencies of our staff so that everybody feels that they've been empowered. We have so many partners that come alongside us, and you can see that GDI is a part of that, Suntep's a part of that. Clarence Campo supported us, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Rotary, and of course Comfy, which is the hugest catalyst of them all. So my last inspirational quote for you is what I tell all teachers. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. That's all I can ask. Like I say, that's it. So, merci, kawapa matin.
Keep it going one more time for Cort Dogniez. Cort. 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 That's what I said. Cort Dogniez.